Hello and welcome to Rambling Reviews. Let's see, where are we? We are looking at The Wasteland. It's episode 8. I feel like I'm repeating myself. It's another good one, obviously. It's a good show. Do I need to say that anymore? Probably not. I'm going to keep doing it though. Habit and all. For those who don't remember, this is the episode where MT, faced with the recent loss of Jesse and being chased by the Flex, in an attempt to escape the train, ends up stuck out in the wasteland with half a Fleck. It's pretty grim. And he basically taunts her for an entire episode until she decides that no, she's as valid as any passenger on that train. She's learning. She's made friends. She deserves a number. She deserves the chance to get out of here as well. And as a result, it's decided that she's going to get back on the train and find the where the pods that bring the new passengers in go, and obviously acquire their numbers so she can get one herself. It's pretty cool. It's a really neat idea. It's such a brilliant episode because what's the plot is very simple. That's the plot. She ends up back on the train, minus the Flex she took with them. We'll come back to that. And she's like, well, we're going to wait for one of the pods to pass. That's your end point for the episode. So the actual plot is very simple. She gets stuck in the wasteland. She gets back on the train, reinvigorated and with a plan. But where the episode really succeeds is challenging your ideas of the train and challenging your ideas of what's going on and the methodology of it. And actually, in reality, how in control is 1-1? Because he raises a really interesting point. He talks a lot about the Chrome car and whether she was making her own choices or was trying to portray Tulip actually part of the car's design to teach Tulip a lesson. Was the car using Tulip's reflection in order to teach her a lesson, and then it was just done with Tulip's reflection? And then the Mace also raises the same questions about her relationship with Jesse. Is she being used there as well? Other passengers do pick up companions as they travel through the train, friends who travel with them. But are they genuine relationships, or are they just another tool to help the passenger on their journey? Is it just the train willing everything and everyone to help the passengers? But she feels like she's been learning too and deserves to be rewarded like the passengers are with their freedom. All the passengers make friends, so it's kind of part of the train. So is the train playing games with her and controlling her, or is Mace just sort of winding her up? I suspect Mace genuinely believes it, if I'm being honest, but he knows these things will hurt her. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. He obviously even makes the observation that she sort of became a reflection of Jesse in a way, because she was showing him what he needed to get out of the train. She wasn't going to conform, and he needed to stop conforming at the expense of others, with the situation with his brother and even the situation with her when they met the Apex guys. So she, as I mentioned, I've actually said it a few times in this podcast, she became a reflection of Jesse. So it's pretty incredible, because Mace essentially is pointing out that even she isn't even free now. She thinks she escaped the mirror car, the Chrome car, but the train is just another system of control. It's another cage. It's another mirror that she's trapped in. She feels differently though, and I think what's really great about this episode is the way they do that. So they have Mace basically taunting her for an extended period of time, and then she basically comes back with a very simple but effective counter argument, which is that as far as she's concerned, her friendship with Jesse was real, and that is all that matters. And that's beautiful and heartfelt, and also kind of terrifying because it ignores so much of what Mace has been talking about. And that's when she leads to her revelation. It's a perfect turning point for her. no, I'm going to get out of here. I'm as good as any passenger. I've been on that. I'm on that journey that the passengers are on. I've travelled through the train. I've learned things. I've grown as a person. I deserve this as much as anyone else. But also, more than anything, don't try to dismiss that my friendship with Jessie was anything but real. Like, don't try to diminish that by making it part of the train's games. She feels strongly it's more than that, and that's just great storytelling. It's a really perfect way to set up the characters and the situation. I'm intrigued to see how it goes. I'm very. I don't think she's getting a number. I don't. If she's getting off the train, it's through some other means. But the problem that I don't know if problem is the word I'm looking for here, but the situation they're building is raising a lot of questions about the nature of the train and the nature of the denizens of the train in general. Because are we going to have a situation here where anybody who's on the train who wants to leave should be allowed to? Because otherwise the train is going to continue to seem like an evil presence. And with 1-1 at the wheel, we know 1-1's not evil. He's he's conductor now. Does that mean there's someone above 1-1 controlling the train? Because I don't like the idea that 1-1 has put that system of control in place. Someone built the train. Someone built 1-1. Someone is in charge of this. Beyond that, I think that's where we're going with this. Because you can't raise all these questions about the ethics of the train and the beings on the train that are basically being treated as tools to help, humans, as it were, better themselves and then exit. They can't just be trapped infinitely in that loop. It's not fair. They want to be their own person, as Mirror Tulip. Sorry, God, I'm completely undercutting her argument when I call her Tulip. I understand. It's just force of habit. Mirror Tulip, MT. She's right. Like, and raising those questions is interesting, but it's a bit of a Pandora's box because it raises bigger questions about everyone on the train. And is this going to be a revolt of the trains, the beings that live on the train? I mean, I don't remember specifically raising these questions, but I definitely had questions about who the people on the train were in the first season. Like, who are these beings? Are they created? Are they all just those cockroach monsters adjusted? Like, I remember I had that theory at one point. Like, what's the situation here? How fictitious is this world, and how real are they? And that's why it made so much sense for the Apex people to really see them as nothing, because it kind of makes sense. You feel like you're in a video game, and in a video game it doesn't matter. Sometimes you do heinous things in a video game because it's kind of funny. Like, it's a virtual character in front of you, and like locking the butler in the original Tomb Raider in the fridge or whatever it was. It's funny. Like, it's a fictional, but in the train it can feel like that, I'm sure. But it's becoming clear that these are not. Oh, it's clear very quickly. I think these are not fictitious beings, or at least they don't think they are. But what qualifies as life? It's raising some really. My concern is it's a bit of a Pandora's box, raising some much higher concept questions than I feel like this show is generally interested in answering. But then again, it's raising them, so maybe it is. Maybe Owen Dennis has some genius plan. And at this point, who am I to doubt this creative team? But I'm just a little concerned that it's one thing to raise these questions, another thing to actually handle it, and actually, take it further and take it to the point where we're properly exploring those ideas and the consequences of these choices, and maybe even coming to a point where we give the people who live on the train that choice. At what point can we do that on this show? At what point can they say, okay, well, anybody who wants a number to get out into the real world, come and do it? But then you've got the other issue of having some of the beings that live on this train have the ability to hit the real world. That's that could be chaos, I mean, May says it in this episode. Oh yeah, you thought you were just gonna, go made out of metal. You were just gonna go to the real world with your magic deer and go to prom, like go to school, and like he's right. Like she can't. There's issues with these people on this train just being out in the world. So I was thinking, is the solution for whoever's created the train in this sort of wasteland space, which doesn't seem to be infinite. The wasteland space seems to only exist for the train to travel through, and therefore, like, it's like a video game where if you get so far away from it, you hit like a barrier, like it starts to pull you back, and that's to hide the fact that if you were to go much further, you'd realize it has an edge, that it has a limit. You know, visually it looks like it spans infinitely, but they're trying. It's a trick. It's this, you know, it's a perspective trick. It's a matte painting, and she can't reach it to find out it's a matte painting. It's the Truman Show. It's the end of the Truman Show when he's on the ocean. He hits the painting. The painted background, the backdrop. So there's a lot of questions to be raised here. Is the solution quite simply to let the denizens of the train have a choice to stay on it, and let them, if they wish, leave, extend maybe the wasteland and let them turn it into some sort of place, city, something, you know, let them develop it themselves independently, and if they want to get off the train at any point, they can, and if passengers get off the train, that's their choice too. And then they can either stay in the sort of in this weird dimension with the beings that the train produces, or they can get back on the train, learn their lessons, and go home. I suppose you could do it that way. I don't know. The problem is I don't know what the solution is that's going to make me feel happy now, because they've made it very much seem like every single person on this train is in some way indentured, and I suppose that's assuming that you're believing what Mace is saying. But the problem you have here is it's really not that far from seemingly the truth. It's hard. Yes, he certainly believes it, but what he's saying is accurate. Like the train seems to exist to help these people. So do the people on it exist to help these people? And if that's their only purpose, where's their individuality? Where's their? I think they're just essentially slaves to a system, you know, and that's bad, especially since they have consciousness, you know. An awareness of that. Like, it's, again, they're not like computer programs. They have feelings and thoughts of their own, which is really fascinating situation to be put in. And now they've raised that. I don't know how you unraise that. Like, you can't. There's no way to make me feel happy about the situation that all the other people on this train are. They're all inside of a system of oppression. And that's like, oh, great, now the train's the evil thing. And I suppose it always kind of was, but, like, bringing it to the front makes me think, like, where's this going? Is this going with someone ending the train, freeing the people of the train? But then it's helping people, too, it's helping humans. So it's like, oh, God, why do you... It really... Again, as you can tell by the fact that I've spent, like, 10 minutes basically off on this tangent of the moral implications of the train, it really is a Pandora's box. I didn't think the show would go down. It's the sort of thing, these sort of shows normally exist. In Pokemon, they don't tend to deal with the fact that what they're essentially doing is dogfighting, because, let's be honest, that's a brutal, savage, horrible thing that happens, and it's totally inhumane and cruel. And we don't really want to associate the two, because we want to have our fun show about exploring a train or traveling the world, collecting little cute friends, in Pokemon. You don't want to look at the potential underside implications of that reality, because exploring that sort of spoils the concept. And if the concept is this train people go on and they learn about themselves and get better, and now you're raising all these questions about the morality of even that's existence, sort of you go, wow, we've done it, haven't we? We've blown the concept wide open. And look, I'm up for it, like, absolutely. Like, in a world where you don't want to run for 30 years or whatever Pokemon's run for, yes, 100%. I'm down for the show doing this, but I don't even know where it goes. It's such a big idea. So the previous episode was great for its very personal implications about these characters and the real tragedy of Tulip's situation, MT's situation. This episode just opened a massive can of worms that I, for the life of me, can't figure out if I think they're going to be able to adequately explore without essentially torpedoing their own premise. But again, I'm here for it. Like I do trust these creators at this point, and just because I can't comprehend a version of this that's like that can accurately explore that in a way that's going to be satisfying doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I like when TV challenges these sort of ideas, and I think particularly kids TV. It'd be great if Pokemon actually started to challenge some of those concepts, but it won't ever because they want it to run another 30 years, So, a lot going on in the subtext of this episode. Well, not even the subtext, the text. I mean, Mace lays it out, and it's really, really something. And as you can tell by the fact I've talked about it for 15 minutes or whatever, I should probably move on to other elements of this episode. But it's really exciting, and I'm really interested in loving where they're going with it. And I hope they put if you're gonna open that. See, this is the fear, I suppose. Let me rephrase it so I make my concern a little bit clearer. I don't want them to only a little bit open the box, show us the reality of it, and then go back to happy, clappy passengers traveling the train next season. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the show hinting at these ideas, getting MT off the train, and being like, well, it's okay now. She got away. That solved the problem, because now you've opened Pandora's box. There's a train full of beings that feel that will have individuality. They're being oppressed by the system. By raising that, you're not going to be able to brush that under the rug now. You're not going to be... If you've raised it, it now has to be addressed for everyone in the wider system. Does that make sense? So and I don't want a half measure. I don't want MT gets off or has some sort of happy ending that she's satisfied with, where she can be herself or whatever. I don't know if it's going to be getting off or what. No idea where it's going for her. But because right now they've set up an incredible situation where I just don't see any way out for her. I literally don't. I don't think she's going to be given a number. She can't go to the real world in any meaningful way. The only way I can see her going to the real world is by going back as a reflection of someone, and I don't think that's what she wants either. I think that's the same problem. She's very stuck right now. But that's what's great about this season is this dilemma she's in is like. A great movie is one where you're just like, I don't see how the hero gets out of this one. It's this is impossible, surely. That's really good. But what I don't want is them to give her a solution, MT, and call that dealt with. Because now you've opened that's not going to be enough for me. If it's like it's the first Pokemon movie where they actually raise the concern a little bit that this is essentially dogfighting and making brother fight brother and all that stuff, and that stupid song, is a bad thing. You can't then go back to a season, they did, but you go back to a season of like, it's a whole new world we live in, and everyone's fighting. It's like it's ridiculous. It's so hard to go. I remember as a kid watching the first Pokemon movie, and then watching the next series and being like, we learned nothing. It's just like, but no, they hadn't learned anything because they get their memories erased. I understand, but like, and for those who don't watch Pokemon, I know what I'm talking about. In the Pokemon movie, they sort of point out that it's really not great that these people making these creatures fight each other, and then like the show just carries on. Ash just running around with his captured Pokemon, dog fighting with other people who've captured Pokemon. It's it just ignores it completely. But the characters had their memories erased of the events of the movie, which is how I guess it got away with it. But it doesn't work because again, once you've raised that concern in world, you've got to deal with it. You've just got to. So my concern isn't so much that they're going down that route. I would love them to go down that route. It's how far will they go? They need to go very far because these are some really serious issues they're raising. But anyway, moving on. Let's talk about some of the other details in this episode because there's a bunch of other stuff we can chat about quickly. Apex just bow out straight away. Simon, I think calls Jesse weak, whereas Grace is like, have some respect. We just lost another human. He wasn't weak. He was misled. Kind of aimed at 1-1 and a little bit MT. I feel like more of the 1-1 of it all because obviously, they were talking about that. Of course, I didn't pick up in the last episode. Obviously, when they showed Jesse leaving, they literally show his harpoon pack dropping to the floor. They like telegraphed that that's how Tulip would get out of the situation, and I missed it completely. There's literally Is it Chekhov's gun? The idea that if you show somebody like hiding a gun somewhere or holding a gun at some point in the movie, it has to come back later in your movie. They very clearly had a shot specifically showing Jesse's pack falling to the ground once he went through the portal. Yeah, I mean, like, of course, that's how MT was going to get out of it. I loved that action sequence. I thought it was fantastic. I loved how they undercut it as well. It's all dramatic and like everyone's trying to escape, and it's like they're coming through the mirrors, and she's like, harpooning around, and then there's just this amazing bit where the music sort of like stops. And they just undercut the entire tone and drama of the situation with just a comedy moment of Alan Dracula turning his legs into springs and hopping up over the thing. It's great. It's perfectly timed. It doesn't interfere with the tension of anything, but it's a good little laugh in an otherwise pretty dark moment. Mace looking pretty rough through the whole episode after being squished in half by or cut in half almost by one of the train cars goes over the train car they're on, and he sort of gets his legs cut off essentially. And when she's out in the wasteland with him, he's like taunting her and he's singing this Exit Day song, which I thought was interesting. It's to the tune of an existing song. I forget the which one. I'm trying to think what it is. I was supposed to look it up before I started and I got distracted. But he basically it says, you're as good as sanded out here. This is as good as ended for you. You get back on the train. You're gonna get eaten by these cockroach things. This is, for me, this is a victory. Like, I've taken you out. It's not perfect, not how maybe I would have had it done, but I'm winning essentially. And Tulip says, was your last prime this much of a jerk, or is this pure you? She actually questions him and says, you're a coward. You chose to be a Fleck so you wouldn't have your memories erased. I've chosen to escape, to have my memories erased. You took the coward's way out. And he says, no, I did it to uphold the laws. I believe in the laws. Like he feels very much he made the choice out of like a moral imperative to protect the system. And it's crazy, isn't it? Like, it's so funny because you go, this is ridiculous. You almost go, it's so unbelievable that this guy would believe this system works. It's crazy to you. And you almost go, this character doesn't make any sense at all. Why would he think that? And then you just think to the real world and you think of all the systems of oppression that exist in this world and all the systems that put people down in this world, for various reasons, different classes of people, different types of people, all being sort of like organized in a weird hierarchy, and by a system of oppression that exists. And then you go, well, yeah, no, there's hundreds of people protecting that system of oppression. So, yeah, I get hundreds, thousands, whatever, millions of people protecting those systems. So Mace makes perfect sense. Like, he's one of them. Like, he's someone who believes in things how they are, whether he's been brainwashed or he genuinely believes that and he's just a bad person, or he just... Yeah, he believes that, like, and it's crazy because you think, God, this is on the verge of being unbelievable as a human, as a being that exists and a thought pattern that exists. And then you immediately think to the real world and go, no, there are people who still think Trump's a good idea. Like, it's just people believe in this stuff, and they get very, very into it. Like there are people who still think Brexit's a good idea. Like, like I think we're past proving that it's not. But it's that's where we are. There are people who think that like the police work as a system, and don't see how it's oppressing communities. And I guess from that perspective, so it's weird. I don't know if the show is intending to allegorize all these things that it's allegorizing. Like, I feel like Tulip's plight against this system is very much the plight of any oppressed community in the system, particularly at the moment, obviously with Black Lives Matter being such a hot topic. It's funny. I don't know. I wonder if I'd watch this in January, and this is me criticizing myself here, if I'd have seen it the same way as I'd see it now. And what's crazy is when the recent situation, Black Lives Matter, sort of happened, I was like, do people not remember, like, Ferguson? Do people not remember this or that? And I was going back in my head just like, why is this an issue? Like, why is this suddenly on the tip of everyone's tongues now in a way it wasn't before? But, I mean, that's how systems of oppression work. You rise up, then they sort of let you do that, and they lets you be placated a bit. They go, we listened in some ways. We'll make some small concession. Everyone will calm down, forget about it, the news cycle, and then some horrible thing will happen another year or two down the line, and it'll all kick back off again. There's like a cycle as we get stuck in the system, and I'm a part of that, because if I'd have watched, I'm not sure if I'd have watched this back in January when it aired, if I'd have seen the same allegory in Tulip story that I'm seeing, Mirror Tulip story now that I'm seeing, with it sort of more fresh in my mind as it's more of a hot topic at present. But yeah, I definitely think that's. I don't think that's unintentional. I don't know if it's. I don't know if Owen Dennis is particularly making a statement about that movement, but I think what he's making a statement about here is systems of oppression, and and to my own discredit, I think it wasn't fresh enough in my mind in January, or like at the forefront of my thoughts in January enough, and it should have been, should always be. If we want to sort of stop this, it should be. But yeah, I don't think I've seen that in it, but it's hitting me very powerfully watching it now. So yeah, let's see what else. The cockroach monster thing, he's come back, obviously. I think it's consistent. They didn't come out very quickly. They sort of came out once she got right to the edge of the boundary of the train. Like where it starts to sort of like almost magnetically pull you back. I like Alan Dracula's little antler ball thing that he put her in to protect her from them while they tried to eat her. I think... let's see. This is a bunch of notes about the stuff I've already talked about, so we just skip through these. Yeah, so her plan ultimately is that she's going to find a pod with a new passenger, follow it to where they get a number, and try and get a number. I don't think that's going to work, but I equally don't know how this resolves at all. I don't know if we bring 1-1 into it, but we know that place that the pod's going to get their numbers is not where the conductor. It's not the front of the train. It's not the engine. So, shrug. I don't know where that's going to be, and whether 1-1 comes into this at all, or whether we find out if there is someone above him. I have no idea. But I do love her like glorious escape when she gets all sort of like excited about that, and she has this genius idea. She sort of runs to where the wall is like pulling her back, and then she leaps up and it sort of flings her back towards the train, and that's when she uses the harpoon thing to get back on it. And then we get to the most questionable part of the episode, and I'm gonna reserve judgment for this to see how they handle it. But I have some concerns about how they handled Mace in this episode, because he says he's as good as dead, but he doesn't care. He's going to do everything he can anyway to try and stop her. He might, if his last act could be to take her down, then he's happy. He's dead anyway, as far as he's concerned. Now, I'm not sure, and I can't decide if that's enough for me to be comfortable with Tulip murdering him, especially in such a brutal way. His sort of juices splattering over her determined face as she sort of like sends him to his grave. So for those who don't remember, he's sort of handcuffed to her, and she is trying to she's got the harpoon thing attached to the train. She's trying to pull herself back to the roof to the top of the train, and he's clinging onto her and trying to pull her back and stop her from doing that. So she sort of flings herself, she just swings with momentum like a pendulum towards one of the wheels of the train, and basically uses her feet to push him into it, and he basically gets ground into nothing, and the silver juices that were the goos that were inside his meat suit, whatever they want to call it, that skin suit, I think they call it actually, in a previous episode, they sort of splatter over her like the determined face, and then she climbs up and he's no longer with her, and she's got the handcuffs on still, but his one, the thing that was wrapped around his arm has now got nothing in it, so it's just a loose like chain, and then she sort of was waiting with Alan Dracula for the pod. If she's saying, I exist, I'm real, I have identity, I'm not nothing, are we going to excuse? And yeah, alright, the way they've set it up is obviously the idea that he was dead anyway. That's the premise. But I'm not sure that was enough for me. I'm going to try and reserve judgment to see how they handle it in the next episodes, because if maybe she does get a number and it's really high because she just killed a dude. Maybe I'll feel some karmic value out of that, maybe. But yeah, and look, again, it was clear, he said it twice, or maybe even 3 times in the episode, he's dead, he's done, he's missing his legs, he's bleeding out everywhere, that he's not getting back. But the idea that she, like, I think I would have liked it better if she'd have brought him up and saved him and then escaped. Like, the idea that she outright went and murdered him, that's the main cat's our protagonist, guys. I don't know. I'm going to see how they handle it going forward, but I've got some concerns about that because I just don't know morally where that leaves MT. Desperate, sure. Dead anyway, maybe. But she didn't try. I mean, I suppose she did try. She lugged his body around, but you could argue that her lugging his body around the wasteland was just because she needed to, because otherwise she'd have been stuck where he lay. You know, she had to find a way to move him around to move around herself. Because I did, the heart of me went, oh well, she tried. She brought him as far as the train. She was trying to save him, and then I was like, no, she's trying to save herself. He's like dead weight otherwise, isn't he? He's just gonna literally hold on. She has to pick him up and run with him, otherwise she can't go anywhere. So that was selfish in nature. So I'm not sure about the morality of that ending, and where that leaves Tulip. Literally no idea where this goes from here. There are 2 episodes left for Tape Car and the Number Car. Interesting that they're 2 separate. The Tape Car and the Number Car. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I had no idea. Genuinely, I don't know. I don't know if she's going to get a number and get to go hang out with Jesse. I don't know. I don't know if it's just going to be that simple or more complicated, or whether it's going to be one of those things where, like, she can't have a number, but there's some alternate solution. Unsure at this point, but excited to find out. So, once again, I'm going to say stick with me. We're coming back 2 days' time to discuss the Tape Car. But yeah, I mean, what an incredible show to have inspired all these really, really interesting ideas. Incredible stuff. Just incredible. So yeah, thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you guys on the next one. So 2 days' time as we discuss the Tape Car.